Hey everyone, welcome back to the POTA PERformers podcast, playlist, whatever you want to call it. I'm Stuart Victor Echo 9, Charlie Foxtrot, and welcome back. On this particular theme, the POTA PERformers, we bring in interesting people that I find interesting in the POTA world to come and talk about what they do. And I stumbled upon this young gentleman a few months ago now, just calling CQ, and I'm going, this guy sounds like me. And it got my attention. Ethan, nice to join us. Kilo Oscar 4 Alpha. What is it? Kilo Oscar 4 Foxtrot X-ray, right?
Yeah.
I think I should know that because I only talk to you like once a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, thanks welcome to the show, my friend. Tell us a little about yourself. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Stuart. I appreciate it. So I'm Ethan, KO4FX. I don't know. Where should I start? Well, I guess the first question you always ask is, how did you get started in amateur radio? And it's most people say, oh, I got started in shortwave, or I got started in, like my dad had amateur radio kit. Well, funny thing is, my family does not have any connection to amateur radio at all. I'm the only person in my entire family that does amateur radio. It actually started, so I live here in Middle Tennessee, and during the spring and the fall months, we have a lot of severe weather here. And I actually started by, we have a local Skywarn group that is on our local repeater. And I also, as you can see behind me, I also used to do a lot of weather radio stuff. I know that you guys don't have that up in Canada anymore, which is unfortunate, but the severe weather aspect is quite popular here in the States. So I was talking to a couple of my friends of mine, and they're like, well, there's this thing with like Skywarn, and like how you can like get on a repeater and like relay reports and stuff like that. And I'm like, maybe I'll decide to go take my exam and see what this whole thing is about. And I took my exam, and the first time was actually really stressful. I actually failed my exam the first time I did it, but on the second try I got my technician. So I guess it was just nerves, I guess. And then that's how I started getting into this amateur radio thing.
Yeah, that's there's a few guys that talk about Skywarn and in weather and tweaking their interest. A couple guys from the prepper community, they kind of use that as a way. And that's, it's nice. And I've had a few folks on like yourself. I'll call it youth and ham radio, right? I'll call it the 30-ish and under crowd, right?
Yeah.
We had Violetta on a few weeks ago, who's a very active contester and de-expedition person, which I introduced you to the same guys that she got introduced to. I'm not sure if there's anything that happened with that, but I hope it does, because I think you would be a great addition to some of their teams. But, one of the things that attracted me to you as an operator was your style. I mean, again, mimics a lot of what I do. We'll get into Parks on the Air and all that stuff in a few months, but you got to tell me the story about the Foxes. What is the whole thing with the Fox? You just did a special event around what does the Fox say, right? So tell me what's the story behind the Fox?
Okay, so the funny thing is, I've always liked doing outdoor stuff. I mean, I was in BSA. I did the radio and mayor badge. I think you guys have similar thing to BSA. I think it's like, is it like Scouts Canada or something like that? I can't remember. I think so. Yeah. So I as a younger lad, I did a lot of camping. I did a lot of, and I have always liked being outside. I've liked animals, and just like a couple years ago, I started doing some like animal photography. I don't really do it as much anymore, but I started like one of my friends sent me a photo of a little cute fox, which is actually on my QSL card right here. And this is actually not my photo. This is one of my friends that he sent to me. And I don't know why, but for some reason, my brain, I don't know if it's like my personality or something, but I just like really love foxes. It's hard to explain. But I just like being outside. I like seeing animals, and of course, we do have red foxes here in Middle Tennessee. So whenever I go camping at whatever state parks, occasionally I'll see one, and that's actually where my my vanity call came from, because it's just KO4 from my previous call, which was KO4VXD, and then FX is just for the foxes aspect of it.
Well, you would like coming to New Brunswick, because not only do we have red foxes here, we also have silver foxes.
Oh, nice.
and I've seen 2 or 3 in the area, not here on my particular land, but nearby. But funny story. A few years ago, I was in New Hampshire at the NASCAR race in New Hampshire, and by 6 o'clock in the morning, my cameras on my property start going crazy. So I was going, what the heck's going on? So I turned on the cameras, and there's this big moose walking right up my driveway. So we get some good wildlife here. So tell me about Parks on the Air, because you're I think we're all relatively new in the Parks on the Air thing, a couple of years. Tell me about that. How did you stumble upon Parks on the Air, and what interested you with it?
So I first started, one of my friends that lives here in Middle Tennessee. I don't know if he's very active anymore. He's quite busy with the U.S. Army right now. I can't remember what his call sign. I know his call sign. I forget his name. His call sign's November 9 Golf Oscar. I believe his name is Zach, and he's the one that introduced me to Parks on the Air. Because I actually ran into him at one of our club meetings. Well, first of all, I ran into him on YouTube because he had a YouTube channel. I'm like, this guy seems to be in my area. Let me reach out to him and see if he does anything with amateur radio and stuff with our local club. And then that kind of cascaded into, okay, I ran into him at a local club meeting, and he's like, oh, do you want to go do Parks on the Air one time? And I'm like, let me check my schedule. Let's see if that can actually happen. And we actually went to one of our local parks, which is like literally like 5 minutes down the road from here. It's Stones River National Battlefield. It's a quite beautiful park. And I did my first POTA after I think it was 1 month after getting my journal. So that was quite the experience, and I got to learn a lot about what Parks on the Air is, and then after that, it kind of just cascaded from there.
Yeah, it sounds like a similar story to a lot of us. I was when I got back into ham radio about 3 or 4 years ago now, I was just spinning the dial, and I heard this person calling Parks on the Air, and I'm going, what is that?
Yeah.
I never, because I took 30 years off, right? So. Yeah. And so I got back in it. We never had it when I, stopped to do my family thing and run my businesses. It wasn't until I retired or close to getting retirement, that I stumbled upon this Parks on the Air thing. You know what? I really enjoy, probably you do too. One of the reasons why we do it is I really enjoy going to the outdoors and setting up portable and just enjoying just being outside, and of course for you and I, the chaos that comes with managing big pileup, right? That's a thrill too. And not everybody shares that same excitement, but I really enjoy just getting outdoors. And now my thing this year is going to the beach and just setting up on the beach and kind of emulating my I won't call him my idol, but somebody I idolize, in the ham radio world, Walt, the K4OGO. I really like what he does. We have kind of the same interest. But is that one of the driving factors for you too with POTA? Just get out and do something, or do you have a station at home that you use?
Okay, yeah. So I'll talk about that. So I live in an HOA, unfortunately. Now the funny thing about HOAs in America is that they don't take very kind to amateur radio activities. I've actually talked to my HOA president, and he just said, no, we don't allow antennas here. And I'm like, man, rats, I wish I could do amateur radio. And so I decided to go out and just start doing portable operations, because it's much more easier for me to have an antenna set up, especially with some of those bigger antennas. You need a lot of area, and it's unfortunate, but I also have a lot of noise here because I live in a pretty urbanized area. Although my subdivision is kind of far away from the metro parts of my city, there's still a lot of noise because my neighbors, I guess, is running AC motors 24/7. So the noise is quite bad here, and in the parks it's a lot better.
And Middle Tennessee's got a lot of great parks. I actually a few years ago camped in Nashville. At the KOA, I can't remember exactly where in Nashville, but it was a big KOA there. And I worked for a company in Nashville, and I'll tell you one thing I love about Nashville: good barbecue, really good barbecue in Nashville. And I went to a Tennessee Titans game too, which was fun. They were playing Buffalo. That's the reason why we were there, because they were playing Buffalo. Yeah. But I really enjoyed. We camped in the KOA there. We also camped in Crossville. So one of the things you guys got a lot of great around the year access to locations, especially there. It does get cold in Middle Tennessee. I know it does. Yeah. Because I've been there when it's 30 degrees in Crossville. Yeah. So it does get cold, but at least you got year-round parks on the air activities that you could do.
Yeah, and it's nice because here in Middle Tennessee, a lot of our parks are open and we don't have any fees compared to other states. So like I can go to most parks or most WMAs and I don't have to pay a single fee or anything. Although I do like going to parks and collecting stickers because I do like to give back to the parks and I do want to support their efforts because there's always government cutting funding and stuff like that. So I like to support any way I can. And plus I put those stickers on my radio box where I put all my radio equipment in. So
I do the same. I do the same too. I know Ontario Parks has if you're a military member or a veteran, you get in for free during the week, Monday to Friday. So always when I'm in Ontario, I always try to get out in the middle of the week. But I always stop at the office and buy a fridge magnet because I stick them on my fridge in my garage. I got the beer fridge in the garage, so I got it. I got all my parks fridge magnets there. And New Brunswick, the same thing. If you're a military member, you get in at no cost for a day pass. I don't know. I can't. Nova Scotia, which we'll get into your tie. The Nova Scotia in a second here. But Nova Scotia has all these beautiful they're provincial parks, but they're like roadside turnouts that are technically provincial parks. And there's also a lot of great provincial parks that are more like picnic parks, day use parks, scattered all over the North Shore of Nova Scotia that are within an hour's drive from my place that I've gone to and activated in the past. But tell me about the tie to Nova Scotia. I know you have a VA1 call. So how did that all come about?
So let me introduce you. If you don't know what it is, the Youth on the Air program. So they do summer camps. I attended. My memory is foggy. I can't remember if the first one I attended was 2023 or 2022, but it was somewhere. So I attended their first camp in Ottawa, Ontario. If you should know where that is because you're Canadian. But I had a lot of fun doing there, and I got invited back to the second camp, and it was nice to see my friends there again in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And one of the things I asked before attending was, is there any chance that you guys do licensing? Because I was interested in getting my Canadian call because me and my family, we try to make a daily trip or yearly trip, I should say, during the summer up to one of the provinces, Quebec mostly, because we just love the architecture. And of course, Quebec City is the forts and everything is just really beautiful. But aside from that tangent, so we got in touch with one of the local clubs in Halifax. I can't remember what their club name was, but they offered testing for us, and I got my basic with I think honors, which is like similar to. Is it like the general classification kind of? Yeah,
you can kind of equate it to, it's like a cross between a general and an extra. We don't have the frequency restrictions that the generals have, but the basic with honors in Canada, it has some minor restrictions. I wouldn't even call them major at all because you can operate up to like 500 watts PEP with it. Or 500 and change. They have some really weird calculation. It's like the amount of power on the final stage of the amplifier. Like how are you ever going to figure that number out, right? Unless you know from the tech specs. But we just kind of go 500 watts PEP is kind of the limit for the basic with honors. But there's no frequency restrictions like you have in the States. So you can't sponsor repeaters and you can't get a SEPT license if you don't have the advanced. But I got my advanced a couple years. I was a basic with honors for 30 some odd years. But I finally got my advanced because I thought, I'm going to travel to Europe next year. And I would like to operate when I'm in Europe. So, and I wanted to run a kilowatt. I wanted to run more power. So that was the reason why I went. But they're really, unless you have that need to sponsor a repeater or, run more power or travel outside the country, they're really, in Canada, there's no really big incentive. You don't gain anything more on the frequencies, right? That you do in the US from going general to extra. So, but anyway, so a nice thing about Canada too, and when you did your exam, you actually had to be in Canada to do the exam. Not like me trying to write an American exam, I could do it from here. Canada has this rule, and many people don't like it, that you actually have to be physically in the country. Now, you can do it remote. When I did my advanced test, I had my buddy in Calgary administer it for me, but I was here in New Brunswick. So you could do that. We still offer remote licensing or remote testing, but you actually have to physically be in Canada to write that exam or sit that exam. So you did it. You got a VA1 call. So again, what was the tie to Halifax? Just because the Halifax club helped you?
Yeah, it was also because just because that's also where that's where the camp was located. Because one of my friends, it really just depends on your address if I can remember correctly, because one of my friends took their exam in Ottawa, Ontario, and he had an address from a friend of ours that lives in Quebec, and he got a VE2 call. So I think it's just based on your address how you get your number on your call. So we just used I think it was one of the club officers gave us his address for us to borrow, and we just used that. So
yeah, in Canada you have to in Canada you can have multiple VA calls in different provinces, but you have to have a mailing address in that province. So I tried with my VE6 trip I'm doing in a couple weeks. I actually emailed and said, can I get I wanted to get VE6 extra or VE6 Zulu because it was available. And in Canada we have a rule, only one 2x2 call. I would have to get up the VE9 CF, which I'm not about to do, but I can get as many 2x3 calls as I want, as long as you have a mailing address in that province. So yeah, if you have a mailing address in Nova Scotia, you need to have a VE1 or VA1. Like your friend that had a mailing address in Quebec has to have the two. So that's just I think that makes our system. I know the American system's been around for 47 years. Has been the way it is. To me, I still find it very confusing, to hear a 1 call from California and a 6 call in Maine. It doesn't make any sense, but you know what? That's the way it is. As my friend Dave says, get over it. It's not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
So you got a Canadian call. Now the nice thing about it, when you come up here now, when you come up here, you have to use your Canadian call, but you get all the nice benefits that come with it.
Yeah.
Which is nice. You can operate 14155 if you want.
Yeah.
Now you're a general right now?
Me currently in the States?
Yes.
No, I'm an extra. You can only get a 2x2 call with an extra call.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Yeah, so you can only get a 2x1, 1x2, or 2x2 with extra. The 2x2 used to be part of the advanced class, but we don't have that here in the States anymore. You can, with the general, you can get a 1x3 or a 2x3, but you cannot get a 2x2.
So the fact that I learned something today. So if you're an extra, you can get a 1 or 2 suffix, or if you in generals get a 3-letter suffix.
Yeah.
No, but you could be an extra and retain your 3-letter suffix if you want, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. The vanity call is just extra. I mean, you can still get a 2x2 if you did 0 to extra, because I know friends that have done 0 to extra and they get a 2x2 call because nobody gives out 1x2s or 2x1s anymore because they're practically non-existent. So yes,
I know of a few people that have done I call them the nothing burgers to extras in 1 week.
Yeah.
Good on them though. Good on them, because it's not that tough of an exam, because we've done it. We've been in it in radio, but to somebody who has no experience, it can be very daunting.
Yeah, trust me. I've looked at the advanced qualification exam. I don't want to do it. It's too much for my brain.
But if you've done the US extra, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that US extra, you can still do CEPT and all that jazz for when you go to Europe and when you go to other countries. So I wouldn't really have a need to get my advanced and
knowing if you have your extra in the States, coming up here in Canada, knowing that you don't have the same restrictions that a general would have. It's really, and if you're running portable, you're not going to be running a kilowatt anyway. So you're not going to be sponsoring a repeater, and you can get CEPT through your US call. So that makes a lot of sense there. So back to POTA and Worldwide Flora and Fauna. You've been doing both now, which is great. Thanks for putting those Flora and Fauna locations on the air. I appreciate it. So you have a style that's kind of in line with the way I do. Very quick. I won't say everybody's a 5'9", but everybody's a 5'9", right?
Yeah.
Tell me what came about that you adopted that style?
So funny enough, you're part of it, honestly. I watched your videos. That's why I did the style, because of the way that you operated. Because at some point I realized, why am I wasting all this time just giving park numbers, signal information, waiting for the other guy? I'm like, why wait around? I have limited time in the park. Why do I need to wait around for I don't need to give you my park number 20 times. You guys can just look at the POTA website. It doesn't make sense to me. And plus, only a couple people like ask for my park information, and it's like rarely ever, but like it doesn't make sense to me to just give out your park information every like 20 seconds. It just slows everything down, in my opinion. And especially when you have a massive pileup going, it's kind of hard to like break that rhythm of just like, oh, you're 5 and 7, or what my park number is XYZ, stuff like that. So yeah, it really was you that inspired me to do that operating style.
Well, I feel honored. I feel honored. So yeah, but I agree with you. Like, I mean, I do a lot of hunting here at home because just the thing to do. I being retired, I have lots of free time on my hands.
Yeah.
But I'm not tinkering on the bench or doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's right. Even. And I know, and I have to respect that everybody's different. So everybody has different styles, and what aligns for you and me may not gel with others, and vice versa. Yeah. But I am not a fan of multi-ops, and I very rarely will even spot multiple parks. I'll just put one park, and then when I go home, I'll add the other park numbers in. And like you, I think yesterday I was out at the beach, and did my beach activation, and I think out of the 230 some odd QSOs I got, I think 2 people asked me for the park number. So I think people also know our style, right? They say, well, Stuart, somebody said yesterday on Park the Park, you don't need the park number, right? So no, I don't need it. Don't have to give it to me, because I'm with you. I mean, I'm a contester and a DXer, originally. So I like the fast pace, right? And I was a communicator with the artillery back in my younger days, and we were trained fast communications, right? And fast and accurate. So that's the way I adopted my ham radios, contesting and DX. Plus, Ethan, I'm antisocial, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'm not antisocial in a negative way. I just like to be in my own company.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to do things my way, and having a conversation with somebody on the radio that I don't know, and I'm sharing all the personal details with, it doesn't sit well with me. So that 5'9" next just fits perfectly into my, I want to make all the contacts I can, but yes, also I don't need to know what your station is. I don't need to know how much power you're running. I don't need to know what you ate for breakfast, And again, some people, that's their thing. They enjoy the social aspect of ham radio, which is great. And so I love working with you, because I know it's going to be a 5'9" go, right? And even every once in a while I'll say, hey, you're 5'9" in New Brunswick, and you just go, you're 5'9", and I go, okay, that's great, perfect, move on, right? Tell me, what advice can you share with a young ham radio operator who's getting into ham radio for the very first time? What advice can you share with them?
So one of the first things that I'd say is like, I really don't like giving this advice, but just get started with a club, even if they're all old people. Yeah, old people have good advice to give the younger generation, in my opinion, and maybe you'll find somebody around your age. I mean, to be fair, there are some people in their 30s and 20s that I've met that have helped me tremendously great with amateur radio, and some people are super kind, some people are not. My first advice would be getting yourself into a club and just connecting with people. We have a lot of social media channels, Discord, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not gonna call it X, whatever. But there's a lot of youth Discords. I'm in quite a lot. I mean, for the trip that I'm going to Quebec, I met a couple good friends through a Discord, and I met them in person, and we're gonna go see each other in like literally 2 days. But yeah, I'd just say get connected with other youth, because if you don't, then you kind of feel isolated, and you feel like, why am I this only young guy doing amateur radio in a sea of like 60-year-old people, And I'd also say go check out youthonair.org. They have great summer camp programs. I can personally attest to. You'll meet many great people. You can also see what other offerings they say. The main thing I just say is get connected to other young people, because if you don't, then you're gonna feel like, why am I doing this in the sea of just older people that you can't really mesh very well with.
Yeah, not all old people are grouchy old people.
Yeah.
But so tell me a little. You mentioned Youth on the Air a few times now. Tell me a little about that program, because I'm aware of it, but I don't know much about it. Can you share more information about it?
Yeah, so the Youth on the Air program, it's by a good friend of mine, Neil Rapp. They do summer camps for people in the Americas, North America, Central America, and South America. We also have some campers from different countries that come in, because they also have another program over, and I think is it Region 1 that's Europe, but yeah. But yeah, it's called Youngsters in the Air in Europe, because youth that doesn't really blend very well with the European mindset, because they think in Europe is more like trouble youth, people that young people that do like crime and stuff like that. But nobody really says youngsters here in North America, because that's kind of just an antiquated term. But they do summer camps. They have programs to where you can get connected with other youth. They have a Discord server. I can't remember. I think they also do some scholarship programs. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've looked at their website, but they definitely do have links to scholarship programs. I mean, I applied for the AWL youth. I think it's collegiate scholarship program. I can't remember, but I got $1,000 for the upcoming semester, which was really nice, because I need money for college. College is not cheap nowadays. But Youth on the Air, it's more just to connect youth with other youth, encourage them to go out into their own communities, and encourage other youth in their communities to get active in amateur.
And I applaud your involvement, because the youth and the youngsters for the Europeans, we need to have I'll call it new blood coming into the hobby. Yeah. You're right. It is getting to be a hobby of older distinguished gentlemen and ladies, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a time when ham radio was for distinguished gentlemen and ladies. It's not so much that anymore, but that's a story for a different day. But It's nice to see the youngsters and the youth coming in, because, I had a good conversation with Violetta, who's in Colorado Springs, who does a lot of the expeditions and contests. So it's nice to see that the tradition of ham radio carrying on through the youth of today, because without that, it'll die off. And there's all kinds of threats to amateur radio worldwide, that if we don't use it, we can lose it. They've been saying that for 50 years now, but it's never really happened. But it's nice to see. So you guys, you're coming up to Quebec. I know that you talked about that. You're probably going to do some parks on the air while you're here.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's some real. I've only done a couple parks in Quebec. One up near Rimouski. There is a submarine in Rimouski. There's a POTA location, and also I did a historical site just north of Trois-Rivières, which was a really good place. And I'm actually probably around the same time you're up here, I should be in the Gaspé, and I'm looking to do some activations on the Gaspé Peninsula, which is supposed to be really, really nice. I've never been there myself, so I'm looking forward to that. By the time I get around to editing this video, I may be in the middle of that, or it could be done. You never know how the schedule goes. So Ethan, it's great that you're carrying the torch of ham radio. What else interests you in ham radio? I know you do a lot of parks on the air. I know you do that, but is there anything else in ham radio that interests you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of worldwide Flora and Fauna since you introduced me to it. I think you made one of your videos a couple of years or months back about talking about why people in POTA don't do worldwide Flora and Fauna, and it's honestly I really like it a lot, because I'll get like 20% more of the X on compared to just doing just POTA, because there's so many Europeans that like to get a worldwide Flora and Fauna in the log. I also do Lakes and Lagoons on the air, and there are a lot of lakes around here that I can combine with POTA and worldwide Flora and Fauna. One of our WMAs that you've probably been hunting quite frequently is part of a larger WMA that's on a lake. So in a couple weeks, I will probably try to go and get that lake activated. It has not been activated before. So I'll be doing 3 programs in once, and that'll be quite fun. I'm trying to think what else I do in amateur radio. I I've gotten myself into doing weak signal VHF work because I like doing 2-meter SSB. We have a nut here in Nashville that I haven't quite checked into yet, but I'm planning on doing it once I get a better Yagi for 2 meters. But I like doing 2-meter FM and SSB work just because it's a lot more local instead of like Bob in New Jersey, as you say, or like a random guy in like middle of nowhere. I kind of like the locale, the local people here, because a lot of them I do know, and I'm trying to get a local VHF scene established here in Middle Tennessee, because I know there's a couple people in California that do that, and I'd like to get more people to monitor 5.2 simplex, because whenever I call it on 5.2, it's just crickets, and I don't hear anybody. So that's what else I'm doing. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, 2-meter VHF, when I first got involved in ham radio, was very, very busy. You sometimes have a hard time getting in on the repeaters. They're so busy. Now I can leave mine on the local Moncton repeater all day, and it'll get chunked 2 or 3 times a day, and that's about it. That's all you hear. So yeah, that's you know what. It is what it is. Ethan, thanks for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate taking some time out. And I hope that you continue your journey in ham radio. I know that the guys who run a lot of the youth for the expeditions, I've got your name now. So hopefully they reach out to you one day and say, hey, we got an opening to go to, I don't know, pick some nice Caribbean island somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know, and do some de-expedition, because that'll be really, I'll put it this way. The way you operate and your style and how proficient you are, I have to say you're in my top 5 of all POTA activators that are out there. You would do really, really well in expeditions and managing, those pileups that come in, because you do a really good job on it right now. I hope that that interests you and tweaks you to see what the next iteration of your portable ham radio activities look like. Mm-hmm. But Ethan, thanks again for doing this. And if anybody has interest in Youth on the Air, I'm sure all your information is good on QRZ.
Yeah.
So they can potentially reach out to you, and you can direct them in the right direction if they have any questions. So we want to encourage the youth of today to, again, get involved with ham radio, and don't get discouraged because a couple of grumpy old ham, stand in your way. That's going to happen. I mean, it's just, you just have to walk around them. That's the thing. Ethan, again, thanks for doing this, my friend. I really appreciate it. Really nice to get to know you over the last little while, and I really, really enjoy working on the air. And I hope maybe tonight you'll be. No, I may not work tonight because I'll be watching soccer tonight. So, but if I hear you on, I'm definitely going to call you every single time.
Yeah.
And that performer antenna you have is working amazing. So keep at it.
Yeah, huge shout out to Greg KJ6ER. It's way better than just the quarter wave vertical with ground mounted radios. It's a way better in so.
I'm actually going to try that. I'm going to go down to the beach one day, and I'm going to do the performer, and I'm going to put just one of the wire antennas I make with Walt with the ground radios, and I actually ordered today on Amazon an AB box, because I have one for my 2 end feds I have here, but I want for a portal so I can switch from one antenna to the other. And I just want to do that video, compare. Okay, here's the elevated radio, because a lot of guys are doing that now. Elevated radios, ground radios, what's better? Ethan, thanks again, my friend. Appreciate your time, and appreciate your involvement in the community, and keep at it. And good DX, and happy poding, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for letting me come on, Stuart. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Everyone, this is Stuart, Victor Echo 9, Charlie Foxtrot. Thanks again to Ethan, Kilo Oscar 4, Foxtrot X-Ray. And well, by the way, what is your Canadian call once again? VA1?
Victor Alpha 1, Victor X-Ray Delta.
So Victor X-Ray Delta, you'll hear him hopefully this summer. Make sure you give him a call. Again, thanks for tuning into the POTA PERformers show here. Again, I'm Stuart, Victor Echo 9, Charlie Foxtrot. We'll see you guys in another episode whenever we get around to doing another one. 7-3, everyone.